Hey guys, so I'm back again with another video about Anjo Nala. There seems to be no end to my research on her kit. But anyway, in this video, I break down her damage output based on who she is contract with. And first of all, this is some disclaimer. The rotation is basically based on my playstyle. I wouldn't say it's the best, but I've tested it a lot and I think this is the optimal. So basically it's based on that rotation and I assume it to be in a very ideal case because I rely a lot on first melody, and if sometimes you reset you don't get the incantation that you want because the ultimate is there and sometimes you just don't get the one that you want, as you want all four, 2 from Anjo and 2 from Contractee's incantation. When we reset we want 4 of them to be there, but sometimes we just have 3. Okay, hence in this whole discussion I'm assuming that you are using first melody tuning, and third, damage output is actually dependent on the contractee. That's because I did not include the damage. Like if I link to Lucy, I did not calculate what Lucy, how much damage Lucy will do. Or if I contract with 6, how much 6, how much damage 6 will do. I did not consider it. I just consider Anjo's damage, right? So this is just a comparison in that level. So please do note. But however, I have done so many fights or runs with Anjo, with Lucy, with not Lucy, and whatsoever. Always Anjo out damage everyone, right? In most situation. Okay. Hence, I think calculating just Anjo's damage would be okay. Alright, so let us go right into the analysis. So first of all, this is Spirit and Intelligence. Spirit and Intelligence is when, let's say Lucy attacks, then Anjo will do a single target attack on one enemy. And the attack that she does is actually her S1, which means she will reduce her him and also do damage. And if there's negative status on the enemy, she will do even more damage. However, here I'm just considering if there's just one, which is from herself, which is titillate, right? I think that's what it's called. If the negative status on the enemy, so I assume that's 1, right? If you have like J, if you have like Tuesday, then actually you will do even more damage on the single target follow-up attack, or basically when she's using her S1. But anyway, I start off with using him. After that will be her attack. So the first attack, there's no negative state on an enemy. So after that, she inflicted. So hence, subsequent attack from her will be 220. 220, I'm assuming that that is the contractee's attack, because that will trigger her single target attack as well. So starting with 7, the countdown on him, 7, every time she attacked, it will be 1 going down, so that's 6. Contractee attack go down by 1, 5, and then she do a single target rank 1 attack, so reduce further 4. Then another attack from the contractee, 3, 2, and the end of turn, 1 more charge goes down, so at the end is 1. Or basically at the start of the new turn, she have 1 charge on her him. And for the first round, she will be able to gain 4 Moxie. So now in the second round, you use her own incantation, which is S1 first, because that will reduce the charge by 1 and that will trigger Angel's Temptation. And at P0, that is 400 damage, AoE. Then after that, you have to quickly cast him again in order to trigger the single target follow-up attack. Without him, she will not do the single target follow-up attack when your contractee is attacking. So please be very careful with that. So from there, I calculated everything, and if she outs, the total damage I assume is 620. That's because she deals 560 for every negative status, and she basically inflict 2 negative status. So I just assume that 2. Actually, it should be 3, because if titillate is still on the enemy, then there will be 3 negative status. But I just consider 2, so 620% damage. And hence I calculated the rotation based on the Moxie, based on the him, when she does Angel Temptation and when she does Ultimate. So this is for Spirit and Intelligence. As for Star Mineral, same thing, you start off with him, but now every time the contractee attacks, then she will do AoE damage, and the AoE damage is actually Angel's Temptation, but a weaker version, so it's just 150% mental damage. And then after that, she does her own S1, and that's 220. As you can see, round 1 him, then 2 times from the contractee, 150% each, and then 220. So instead of reducing the him charge by 2 every time your contractee acts, this time is only 1, because the Angel Temptation is not a rank incantation. There is no mechanics to further reduce the him charges, right? So start with 7, 6, 5, 4. At the end of turn, it goes down to 3. So at the beginning of the turn, it will be 3. Same thing, you get 4 Moxie, the next turn you get 8 Moxie. So I do the same calculation, however the rotation is slightly different due to the triggering of the Angel's Temptation at the end of him is different, so the rotation is slightly different, and the overall damage will also be different. And this is for Star and Mineral. Next we have here is Beast and Plant. So Beast and Plant, unfortunately, she doesn't do any follow-up attack when they act. I really think she should do something, and that something generates Moxie for herself, right? Instead of reducing the charge or doing an AoE attack, she maybe do also a single target attack that can return Moxie to herself, and the damage can be slightly lower compared to the other 2 versions, but making her not attacking at all is really not, it really makes this whole setup for Beast and Plant inferior to the other 2 setup, right? So anyway, here I'm assuming, you start off with him again. You have to, because if not, then the +1 Moxie will not trigger. So now your contractee attacks, and there's no damage. I mean, there's no damage from Anjo because she doesn't do any follow-up attack, but you do get 1 Moxie. Then again, another no damage and +1 Moxie, and then she do her S1 that deals 220 damage and another Moxie. So here, let's say you start with the him at 7. Same thing, it reduces when your contractee acts. So 6, 5, 4 at the end of turn, 3, start of turn is 3. Then for Moxie, 1 for using him, and your contractee 2, so 2, 4, 5, and 6. So she has 6 Moxie. Now round 2, again you use your contractee to attack, so 2 times, 2 Moxie each, and she used 2 of her incantation, though that's 12 Moxie. And by the 3rd round, her ultimate is charged, but you cannot use her ultimate first, because if you use her ultimate first, then she will be in channeling status and you cannot use any attack from your other character. If they can't attack, then you cannot reduce the charge for the him further, and that also then result in a loss of damage. So I assume at this point you are still attacking, but your Moxie is already full, so it overflows, right? I'm not too sure. I've tested it, but it's really not really that good. Like, if there's Moxie overflow on the turn that she'll be using her ultimate, like in round 3, instead of using your contractee of or Anjo Nala's attack, you can use this 3 AP to fully buff, right? If you have like Villa in your team, you can use Villa to buff one of the to buff Anjo, or you can use Teferi to inflict confusion, so her ultimate actually hit harder, or any other character that you bring in, you can use their buff to fully buff so that ultimate hits really hard. So from there on, round 4, round 5, round 6, round 7 is basically just a repeat, and basically repeat all the way to round 12. And here is for Beast again, but now it's P3, because P3 is slightly different as the contractee grants her 2 extra Moxie instead of 1. So then the rotation should change. But actually after I do the simulation as in this rotation, it doesn't really change that much because in the end you can still do out every other turn just like P0. The difference is at the first round you can instantly get 8 Moxie, so right from round 2 you can start doing your out, right? If you are using P0, you only can use your out in round 3, so you are just losing out in 1 turn slower. But of course, P3 also make her ultimate hit harder, which is why I put, you can see the row on ultimate, the hating is gone, but the one after 625, the 800, that's basically ulti damage. Before that, it was 620. 625 is due to the upgrade of P1 and P2, where Angel's Temptation now hit harder. So instead of 400%, now is 625%. So basically, with all this rotation being set up, I calculated the total mental damage that she does, and then I calculate the overall damage. So I did the calculation for P1, P2, and P3 as well. And as you can see, compared to P0, I basically update the Angel's Temptation as well as the ultimate damage as the one that I highlight in yellow for P1, highlighted in blue for P2, and highlighted in green for P3. So I'm not sure if you can see it. You can zoom in a little bit, but it's quite small, but it should be fine, right? So from there, I calculated the damage, and this is the comparison. So here it is. If against 1 enemy, against 2 enemy, and I calculated damage after considering the stat boost, because just taking the mental and reality, the mental percent damage doesn't really do justice, because depending on who she contract with, she do grant herself and the contractee stats up. So with Spirit Intelligence is 4% attack, with Star and Mineral is 8% crit rate, and with Beast and Plant is 8% crit damage. So against 1 enemy, by no surprise, Spirit and Intelligence deals the most damage, right? Even at P0, P1, P2, P3, they deal the most damage. And you can see in terms of upgrade, if you get her P1 compared to P0 is an upgrade by 6.66%, and then 7.8%, and then 4.6%. If you are using Star and Mineral, that is the second highest if you're against 1 single enemy. And you can see for Star and Mineral, it's a huge upgrade if you get her P1. It increased by 27.15%. If you look into the Portray, the Angel's Temptation, which is the follow-up attack that she casts, was supposed to be 150%. But with P1, she does 250%. That's almost double of her attack. So if we factor everything in, it is actually an increase in 27.15%. And once you get P2, the upgrade is not so huge anymore. It's 5.52%. That's because Spirit and Intelligence setup can trigger Angel's Temptation, the full Angel Temptation, faster than Star and Mineral, right? So they got a little bit more advantage when you upgrade from P1 to P2, but only by 7.8% from P1 to P2 for Spirit and Intelligence. And Star and Mineral is just 5.5. And for P3, it's just another 5%. Beast Plan is the worst compared to the other two setup. And I actually did try it out and did a comparison in one of the in one of the roguelike, where I adjusted so that I'm not using any artifact and the enemy is hitting hard and I'm hitting like normal damage against most of the end game content. And really, Beast Plan, I tried to optimize it and they really just underperform compared to the other two. So no doubt they are the last here. But anyway, P1 just a 7% upgrade, P2 just 8% upgrade, and P3 you get higher, but overall it's still just 9% upgrade from P2. But it is the most, so P3 is tailored for Beast and Plant, but I do think it's not really necessary, so don't chase her P3. If you stop at P2, it is okay. And just to mention, if you get her P3, you might as well get her P5, because P4 is just upgrade in stats and not by a huge margin. And P5 make her ultimate hit harder. So if you want to go for the ultimate oriented playstyle for Anjo, which means Beast and Plant, you should get P5, which I do not really recommend. So anyway, against two enemy. So against two enemy, if you look into P0, Spirit and Intelligence still out damage the other two mode, Star Mineral and Beast Plant. However, once you upgrade it to P1, due to the massive increase of the Angel's Temptation follow-up attack, then Star and Mineral actually will deal overall higher damage. For against two enemy, because most of her follow-up attack is, and the Angel Temptation ultimate, they are all mass attack. So this time it increased by 30.27%, which is pretty good. Then after that, 6% and 5.44% for Star and Mineral. So against Spirit and Intelligence, we see that it increased from by 10.5 from P1 to P2. Again, P2 is actually an upgrade for Spirit and Intelligence rather than Star, Mineral, or Beast and Plant. For Beast and Plant, again, the lowest. So increased by 8% from P0 to P1, and then 10%, and finally 11%. So after I considered the stats and I calculated the damage that Anjo would deal, because the top part is actually the percentage of mental damage, not the actual damage. So I calculated the damage, and still the trend is still the same. Spirit, Intelligence, Star, Mineral, Beast, and Plant. So basically from this, if you are fighting against a single target attack and you are using anything above P0, then you go for Spirit, Intelligence. If you are fighting against multiple enemy, go for Star, Mineral. If you are P0, then Spirit and Intelligence will be the best choice for you. Beast and Plant, unfortunately, I do not really recommend it. Perhaps only later when Shemaine got his Euphoria, then we can test it further. But now, unfortunately, not recommended. Alright, so that's all for this video, and hope you enjoyed this. I still have the tips for Anjo, which I will post the video first. I will do commentary for that video. I think it's easier. I'm too lazy to edit the subtitle and stuff in it, so I'm just going to talk. Hope you guys watch that. Alright, so thank you very much and have a good day.